Hey kids, Mr. Fly here. Now, last couple of weeks I've been riding this, the brand new for 2020 Triumph Tiger 900 GT Pro. This is the on-road version of the bike. I've ridden it as much as I possibly can given the circumstances, and I've learned quite a bit about the bike. Not just good things, but bad things too. And in this video, I'm going to tell you what those lessons are. So if you're interested in this bike, this video is for you. Stick around and stay tuned. Okay, so if you've been watching my channel for any length of time, you'll know that I was a fan of the older Triumph Tiger 800. I've just ridden that extensively in my tour in Thailand. If you haven't seen that set of videos, then after this one, maybe you want to go back and watch it. I'll stick a card up in the corner, go and check that out. I thought the Triumph Tiger 800 was a great bike, so I was really excited when Triumph said they were going to let me borrow the new 900, just to see what things had changed on the bike, because it's unlikely that Triumph were going to make the bike a lesser bike than the previous 800, and I was very right. I've really enjoyed my time with this bike. It's been a great bit of kit. The downside is I got lent this bike just as coronavirus was kicking in, and as of this point, well, in fact as of a couple of days ago, no more motorcycle riding allowed here in the UK. So unfortunately I've not ridden the bike as much as I normally would on one of these long-term tests, but I have given it the best bash I possibly could, and in this video, as I say, I'm going to let you know the lessons I've learned. So without further ado, let me crack on with the negative stuff. Okay, so to the negative points about the bike, and I have to say I've already let the cat out of the bag that I really like this bike. I have struggled to find negative things to find about this bike, so I'm clutching at straws a little bit with this list. These aren't in any particular order, but these are the things that if I had one of these bikes would annoy me if I had to live with it. So first thing, the TFT on here. It's a lovely big TFT and it's very clear. It's the best Triumph TFT I've seen yet, but I still don't like the layout on it. Triumph just don't seem to have that quite right. I've often described Triumph TFTs as a bit Fisher-Price in terms of the layout. You can customise it, of course. There are various schemes available, so you can change it to what you want, and it's okay, but it's just not up there with the best. If you look at a BMW TFT, I think they are just so super clear and so obvious and logical to use. This one's got a way to go. So the TFT layout I still don't like, but it's getting better, so maybe on the next iteration Triumph will do better. But if I'm honest, I prefer the old LCD screen, or it might have been a TFT, on the previous Tiger 800 than I do this one, which is a bit of a shocker really. But I mean, it's nice and big, but don't like the layout. It's a personal thing. You may love it, but that's number one that I listed here. Next up, joystick control. I've said this before about Triumphs. The Triumphs that have a massive electronic suite are all controlled by the joystick here on the left-hand handlebar, and I just find that fiddly to get to. I said it about the Rocket 3, I said it about the Scrambler 1200. I just find that a little bit hard to use. It gets a little bit in the way of the indicator, which can be a pain, and it's just, I mean, it's relatively intuitive on this bike actually how you use it, but when you're riding and bumping along, it's such fine control you need on that joystick, and when you're wearing obviously a big glove, find it quite difficult to do. So once again, don't like the joystick. Obviously Triumph are going with that. They've got it on all their complicated electronic bikes, so you're just going to have to lump it. So that's on here too. Next up, again, minor point, clutching at straws, colour schemes on the Tiger 900. This white looks okay, but it's not very inspiring, is it? They also do the GT, I think, in a red, and I think maybe a black as well. But none of them really grab me in terms of colour schemes. And in fact, this is a complaint I've had about a lot of the recent Triumph bikes. They just don't seem to be doing that great with the colour palettes. I don't know why, because in the old days, back when, say, the Street Triple came out, they used to do amazing colours. Do you remember the orange Street Triple they did and the purple Street Triple? They were brilliant. But these days, all very staid. The only Tiger 900 that I like the look of is the Rally Pro in green and white. That one looks absolutely fantastic, but the rest of them, I think the colour schemes are a bit boring. So sort that out, Triumph. That can't be hard to do, can it? Right, next up, and again, obviously that's just personal choice, but that's something I think. Next up, the electronics on it. It's got a great electronic suite, but the problem with it is when you turn the bike off, they reset to the sort of default settings, if you like, or certainly things like the heated grips do, which is a bit annoying, because if you're out on a drive, you know, on a cold day and you stop for 10 minutes to take some photographs and jump back on the bike again, when you start it up, I want the heated grips to be on again, and it's, you know, typically it would take me 10 minutes to realise they'd gone off and I have to switch them on again, then they warm up. Okay, they don't take long. It's just a little hassle. On my BMW GS, for example, it remembers the settings from previously, so when you turn the bike off and on, it's set up as you left it. I wish Triumph would do that. I'm not sure whether that's the case with all their electronic bikes. I suspect it is. When I say electronic bikes, I mean the ones with a complicated electronics fit. I suspect it is, but it's just a little niggle that would annoy after a while. Next up, LED indicators on this. The bike is fitted with great lights, actually, LED all round, but these indicators on the back, I happen to know, are prone to breaking off. Don't ask me how I know. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll show you. I'll show you this shot of me in the garage with my Speed Twin. You'll see my indicator there has got this held on by tape, and that is the second indicator that I've replaced on there. If you knock them, or when you get on the bike and you hit it with your foot, which happens invariably, these particular indicators are quite prone to breaking off. Try and fit these on a lot of their bikes now. Just be careful if you've got a bike with these, because they are prone to breaking off, as I say. These ones haven't broken off, but it would just be a matter of time with me. I told you I was clutching at straws with this. And that is it for the negative list. That's all I could come up with, and I really was scratching my bald head to come up with those. All right, let's move on to the positives. Okay, to the positive points about the bike then, and these are, there's much more of these, and these were much easier to identify, because there are loads of things that come to mind. And again, in no particular order. The first thing I've written down here is the big TFT. We've already talked about that. I do like the real estate that you get with it, i.e. the size. The rest of it, not so keen on, so that's number one. Next up, like all new Triumphs, fit and finish on this bike, absolutely superb. Little bits of detailing like the aluminium surround, the spotlights, the raised lettering on the Triumph logo, even things like the fuel cap look really good on this, and so that's, again, fit and finish. You expect that a modern day Triumph. The fit and finish on the Triumph Tiger 900, just as good as all the other new Triumphs. It's just top notch. Next up on here, the up and down quick shifter on here, which is on that side. I won't point at the brake as I usually do. The up and down quick shifter on here is really slick. It works an absolute treat. It's one of the best quick shifters I've ever used, particularly on the downshifts, which often I find can be a bit clunky on bikes. Any speed, as long as you're moving, that quick shifter works. So really good quick shifter. Thumbs up for that one. Next up, I've written here, agility of the bike and handling, and this kind of ties in with the one I've written on later here on lightweight feel. For a big adventure bike, it really is a lovely light bike in all respects, not just when you're moving, but actually when you're lugging it about the garage. So getting this out of the garage, piece of cake, this bike, way easier than any other adventure bike, big or small, that I've attempted to get out of there. I often quote my BMW GS as being quite easy to move around because it has a low centre of gravity. Well, this one feels way lighter than that. It has a low centre of gravity as well, so big thumbs up for the lightweight feel, and that translates when you're riding on road. It feels really agile. You can absolutely chuck this around the corners. It's brilliant. Next up, looks of the bike. I think they've done a great job on this. Now they've got this beak on all the 900s. I think it's really made the bike look lovely. I like these new sleek headlights as well. I think it just looks meaner at the front. As adventure bikes go, which, let's face it, tend to be kind of ugly bikes, or certainly not beautiful things, I think Triumph have done a really nice job with the styling on this. Again, personal point, you may disagree, but I think the new bike looks great, particularly in that green and white paint scheme of the Rally Pro that I mentioned earlier. Okay, next up, got to talk about the engine. The engine on here, again, lots of work been done on it. Of course, it's been raised to 888cc now, and because of some of the changes that need to be made for Euro 5, etc. The new firing order on it, the 132 firing order, makes it sound amazing and just gives it that bit much more grunt lower down. The torque on this, the torque curve has obviously been moved down the range, or it feels like it has, in that now at real world speeds it really does hustle along. For a bike that's only got something like 95 brake horsepower, it doesn't feel in any way underpowered. The engine on here is lovely, and that new sound is absolutely beautiful. It hasn't lost the character of the triple. You still know you're on a triple. It hasn't got loads of vibrations because of that new firing order. It's still lovely and smooth. It is a great unit, this engine. They've done a lovely job on that. Okay, next up, seat height on here. Lovely and low. I can get my feet on the deck. If you have a look at this little shot here, sitting on the bike, the seat now is nice and narrow. You can get your feet flat on the deck. The old bike wasn't too bad for somebody like me. I'm only 5'8", but I could flat foot this, no problem at all. And there's loads of range of adjustment for if you're a shorter or a taller person as well. So that's fantastic. And while we're talking about the seat, the other thing I love about this is the fact that it's got heat. Both the passenger and the rider seat on this has heated seats. I mean, it's just, that may be an option, I'm not too sure. But if you're going to have one of these to go touring and you're going to take a pillion, they're going to really thank you for that heated seat. That works lovely. Next up, I've written here, cost £9,500 for the basic Tiger 900 without all the bells and whistles that this has got. If you want this particular one, the GT Pro with all the bells and whistles like this has got, £12,800. Now, I'm not saying that's not a lot of money, of course it is, but when you compare it to some of the competition out there, I think that's an awful lot of bike for the money. So big thumbs up on the price. And then last but not least, on the things I've written down here on my positive list, which is possibly the biggest thing, I think, is the comfort of the bike, both from a riding position, weather protection point of view, and the seat itself, which is nice and soft. No need to buy a comfort seat on this bike. It's just a comfy bike to ride. And if you're going to buy this as a do-it-all bike, which it would be ideal for, or as a tourer, or for off-roading, whatever you want to do with this bike, it's a comfortable machine to be on. You can ride this all day long, no issues at all. So huge thumbs up for that. So yeah, so that was it for the list of positives that I identified. Okay, so there we are. That's the lessons I've learnt in my shortish time on the Triumph Tiger 900 GT Pro. I say shortish, I've had the bike for a long time, but as I say, unfortunately, the whole issue with this coronavirus thing has rather curtailed the riding that I've done on it. So I'm really hoping when the world returns to some sort of normality, I'll get my hands on one of those green and white, hopefully, Rally Pros, and see how that compares to this. Particularly interested to see how the bigger front wheel on that affects the road handling. But there we are. As you can tell, I've really liked the bike. I think, in fact, and this is the killer, I think this is possibly my favourite mid-size adventure bike that you can currently buy, certainly of the ones I've ridden. In fact, it might be my favourite adventure bike, regardless of size, of all those that I've ridden. It really, really is a nice bike. If you're a fan of the Triumph Tiger, get yourself a ride on one of these. I think you're going to be impressed. All right, that's it for now. If you want to see more about the bike, then I have done loads of videos on the Tiger in the past, both the 800 and the 900. I'll put some links in the corner, and do go and check those out. All right, that's it for now. Look forward to speaking to you again soon. Until then, this has been the Mr. and Fly. Cheerio.